black paintbrush, and I can come in here and paint all of this out. Now, some might say, well, why not just erase it? Well, the reason you don't want to erase it is you want to be able to come in and make changes to it later. And if you erase it, then it's static. You can't make those changes. Now, you'll notice I'm not going very close right now. That's not important for me. What I would do, though, in sections is this, where it's close, like these flames, where I've got a nice hard edge. I'm going to draw a path around this. And this is just going to be a temporary path. I'm not going to keep it for a long time. But I'm going to go in and draw this path around it. That's going to allow me to get really close to it. I can go around and draw around the whole thing, and I'm not going to. I just want you to just kind of see what's going on. You can do this on your own. So I'll create this path around edges that are hard. And then I'm going to load that path as a selection. Here. Load that path as a selection. Okay. And then I can go back into that mask right here and paint black, and it will hide that edge. Now if that edge is too sharp and it looks a little sharp, I can always go in and get my blur tool, and it will blur the edge of that mask, and so it will make that transition nice and soft. It'll work out better. Now for this area over here, I'm actually going to go in and paint it out. I'll paint up close. I'm going to get a soft edge brush, and I'm going to have to go around it like this and gradually work that color into it until it starts to blend off. And that means I'm going to have to get rid of a little bit of that black around there, and I'm going to have to probably come in and paint a little bit of orange later on with it. Now, if I've got an area that's really a soft area like this, I can make a bigger brush that's going to blend out more gradually. Or what I normally do is change my opacity to quite a bit lighter so that I can go in and gradually paint that out. And it will make that transition a little bit smoother. You can do it either way. I like to use a lower opacity and sort of build up that mask and that color to kind of hide it gradually. And so go around and start to get rid of all this color around here, and do your best to try to get rid of the area where it's soft and feathered and things like that. Now, also I want to point out one thing that I will do too. Once I get this kind of close, is I'll switch back to my opacity back to 100%. So that I know that that color is gone around the edge of that. Now I'm going to show you a little trick here. I want to have a little bit of a space between this. So what I'm going to do is load my car as a selection. I'll go down, make sure I'm down here. So I'll load my car as a selection, push the Command key and click on the car, on the little icon. I'll come down here and I can go to Edit, Fill, and fill it with black, and that will actually hide. If I turn this off, if I turn this off, it will hide all of that area around there. I can also now, the other option I have, and this is probably just as easy, or maybe a little more natural to do, is I'll deselect, and I'm just going to take my brush and go around the edge of this. Just try to follow it as closely as I can, going around, so I can get a little bit of a glow. Okay, you should have those flames all taken care of. Now you'll notice they're really a bright yellow, which is caused because of the adjustment layer that's right here. So we've got to fix that just a little bit. What I'm going to do, I've got the mask that's masking out the flames and then the original flame layer. I'm going to take that mask and drag it to the trash, and it will discard that. I don't want to delete it or cancel, I want to apply. Now all I'm left with is just those flames there. Now I can come back up to my hue and saturation, push the command key and hold it down, then click on these flames right there. Now with this still selected, I can come in here and add black or paint black everywhere that is selected. Now you'll notice that even though this area down here doesn't appear selected, it actually is. It just doesn't show anything that has less than 50% opacity. And so that will give me those flames now against that orange background. And so I've just masked that out and painted it by painting in that area a little bit. Okay. Okay, now with those flames done, what I want to do is go in and add the word Ferrari. Now I want to add it behind the shadow and behind all of the car in this area. I want it to have the appearance that it's sort of laying down on the floor here. So I'm going to get my text tool and then change my font. Actually, the best way maybe to do this is to go ahead and click here, and it will give me my character and paragraph styles. So, or I can go to Window, and it will give me my, I can go into the window, oops, I'll cancel, go into Window to character right there. Okay, so I want it Euro style, I want it actually impact, so I'm going to scroll down here, or you can just start typing impact and it will give that to you. Okay, and make sure that my tracking is at 0, and I want my size to be really quite large. I'm going to start out with 72. I may change that later, but in the meantime, yeah, I'm going to have to F-E-R, let's see, I want to do it all caps, F-E-R-R-A-R-I. I hope that's how you spell it. And now I can actually come up here and I can either type in the size or just visually, to make it a little easier for me, move this to the center. I'm just going to scroll. Oops, I'm sorry, I've got to select this. And then I'll get right over the T in there and you'll see a little arrow. I'm going to start to scroll that to the right, and that will enlarge my text to a more appropriate size. Okay? That easy. Now, right now, I don't want it to just sit underneath there like that. I could, and that would be just fine, but in this case, I want it to be at an angle. And so I've actually got to start off quite a bit larger because I've got to scale this down. If I make it bigger, what's going to happen is I'm going to lose resolution, so I have to make it start out with it really quite large so that I can make it smaller. So in fact, I'm going to enlarge this just a little bit more, just to give me a little more room to play with. Now, this is currently active text, and so with active text, I can't go in and manipulate it as well as I want. So what I've got to do, and you can see that this T shows up when it's active text, I'm actually going to go to Layer, Rasterize, Type. And that changes it now from editable text to actually an image. So I can no longer change the spelling, so good thing I got that spelled right, because it wouldn't allow me to change it at that point. Now I can go to Edit, Transform, Distort, and I'm going to bring these things up and start adjusting this so that the perspective feels accurate to me. And by having it in Distort, that's going to give me the ability to go in and kind of just manipulate and change shapes around a little better and a little more carefully. I'll do this and I'll hit Enter. And it's going to give me that perspective. Now you'll see that the shadows, it's kind of nice because with it below the shadow starts to go over the top. Now you'll see maybe right here the shadow isn't as strong as it should be. So I'm going to come back in here now to my shadow layer and just paint a little more shadow in that area so it will cover that up. It will feel a little more realistic. With that Ferrari down below, I want that to reflect up above on the car, and it's only going to reflect in a few places. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this like that. I've got this Ferrari right here, and I want to distort it above the car. Well, right now it's below it, so I've got to take this copy and move it up above the car. Okay. Now I'll go to Edit, Transform, Distort. And I want to try to distort this as much as I can in the first generation. And the reason for that is every time I change it, it's going to cause problems, or it's going to distort the image more. And so I want to try to get it as close as I can. And it takes a little bit of practice. You'll see that at first it's going to look really wonky, and so you've got to really kind of come in here and play with it until you can kind of get it to where the letters are almost going to match up. Okay, we'll bring it about like this, and that's actually going to be close enough. That's going to work out just fine. I'm not too worried about it. This maybe needs to be up a little bit higher. Now with that, I'll go ahead and hit enter, because where it's a reflection I can be okay with some distortion in it. So I'm going to go Edit, Transform, and I'm going to transform it one more time, only this time I'm just going to pull this down so it's a little bit longer, like that. And then just kind of bring this around, and it's going to be okay. It's not a big deal. So I'll take that. Now you'll notice that we've got some problems here as far as our color. The reflection of our color is not the same, and that's because this area right here was masked out. Now we're going to have to do some fixing and play around with that a little bit to make it work, but it won't be too tough, and I'll show you how to take care of that. This part now is actually really easy to get this to really look like a reflection. First of all, we're going to select this. We're going to create a mask. We've used that mask a lot. And then with black as our foreground color, we're going to get a big brush. We're going to go around like this and just start to mask it out. Now, I masked out the big parts first. Now I'll go in and get a smaller opacity, or lighter opacity. Get a little smaller brush. And I'm just going to come in and paint more of this out. Maybe I need a little bit more opacity than that. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get rid of all of this because it's not going to be reflecting on the tire and that stuff around here. So I want you to go in and start to try to get rid of a lot of this and the reflection there. Okay, some places you're going to have to get rid of a lot. And I'm using, again, my right and left bracket to enlarge and reduce the size of my brushes. And you just really only need a hint of that color on there in order to be able to show that there's a reflection and to make it convincing. And that's one of the reasons why this works out pretty well as far as not having to worry about those color changes, because it is a reflection and it is really soft. It's not going to really matter and people aren't going to notice it too much. You just want to give a little bit of a hint of that. Okay. So we've got that, and that actually probably will be good enough. While this is rotating around, you're not going to see a lot of that. We just need to see a little bit of that reflection on there, and then we're good. Once that's done, we're going to go ahead and go to File. We're going to go to Layer, Flatten the Image, and then we have all this extra space here that we no longer need, and so we can just cut that down like that, and we're done. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then later on we're going to have some other, you want to come in, we're going to start working on InDesign.